The grand entryway of the Jacksons' suburban estate sparkled in the morning light, the high ceilings and polished floors a reflection of their success. Lisa Jackson, dressed in a tailored blouse and jeans, watched as her husband, Mark, signed the final paperwork for the new stairlift installation. For their daughter, Mia, who had been born with cerebral palsy, this lift meant a new level of freedom within their three-story home. Lisa glanced over at Mia, whose wide eyes sparkled as she gazed at the stairlift. "Look, Mommy, now I can go upstairs by myself," Mia exclaimed, her small hand pointing at the lift with excitement. Mark ruffled Mia's curls affectionately. "That's right, sweetie," he said, pride filling his voice. Lisa felt a wave of gratitude. Her husband's dedication to Mia's well-being was unwavering. But as Mia grew older, balancing work and care had become a challenge. They had decided to hire a nanny, someone with the experience and patience to provide the extra attention Mia needed, while offering Lisa and Mark peace of mind. The search for the perfect nanny hadn't been easy. They had sifted through countless applications, but only one stood out: Caroline Tuttle, a well-reviewed professional with years of experience caring for children with disabilities. Her profile had been flawless: certifications in child development, references from satisfied families, and a professional demeanor that made Lisa feel at ease. Caroline had even written a personalized note, expressing her admiration for families who invested in their children's independence. The doorbell rang, snapping Lisa out of her thoughts. Their butler, Carlos, answered it and gestured for Caroline to enter. Lisa took in the sight of their new nanny, a woman in her 50s, dressed impeccably in a tailored navy dress and low heels. Her eyes were a sharp blue, her smile warm yet reserved. "Mr. and Mrs. Jackson, thank you so much for having me," she said, her voice soft and refined. Lisa returned the smile. "Thank you for coming, Caroline. We're excited to introduce you to Mia." Caroline crouched to Mia's level, extending her hand. "Hello, Mia. I'm Caroline. I hear you're very brave and smart." Mia gave a shy smile, glancing at her mother for reassurance. "I'm Mia," she whispered. "It's lovely to meet you, Mia," Caroline replied with a smile, holding her gaze for just a beat longer than expected. Lisa noticed it, her motherly instincts alerting her, though she brushed it off as professional curiosity. Once Caroline was settled, Lisa walked her through Mia's daily routines: medication, therapy exercises, and dietary preferences. Caroline listened intently, taking notes in a small leather-bound notebook. "I assure you, Mrs. Jackson, I'll take excellent care of Mia. My approach is structured yet gentle," Caroline said, meeting Lisa's gaze with an intensity that, while reassuring, held an edge Lisa couldn't quite place. Mark was already sold. "I think Mia will be in great hands," he declared, his confidence in Caroline unwavering. Lisa, still cautious, agreed to the trial period, instructing Caroline to start with half-days to help Mia adjust. "We're very protective of Mia," Lisa said, her tone serious. "She's our everything, and we'll be monitoring things closely." Caroline nodded, her expression calm and unreadable. "I wouldn't expect anything less." In the days that followed, Mia seemed to adapt well to Caroline's presence. Caroline introduced new therapy routines and encouraged Mia to become more independent in small tasks. Yet Lisa noticed subtle changes in her daughter's demeanor. Mia, who was usually chatty and playful, seemed quieter, her gaze often cast downward when Caroline was nearby. One evening, when Lisa returned home early from a canceled meeting, she was met by a surprising sight. Caroline was in the kitchen, preparing dinner, while Mia sat silently at the table, her hands folded in her lap and her eyes fixed on the floor. "Mia, honey, how was your day?" Lisa asked, her tone warm but probing. Mia glanced up, hesitated, then replied, "It was okay." Lisa's concern grew, but Caroline intervened smoothly, her voice cheerful. "We had a productive day, didn't we, Mia? Lots of exercises to help build strength." Lisa forced a smile. "That's wonderful. I'd like to talk to you about Mia's schedule tomorrow, Caroline. Could we meet in my office after dinner? Caroline's smile didn't falter, but her eyes flashed, just briefly. Of course, Mrs. Jackson. I'd be happy to go over everything with you. In the quiet of her office, Lisa felt the tension building. She wasn't sure if she was overreacting, but her intuition whispered that something was amiss. Caroline had seemed perfect on paper, but there was a subtle dominance in the way she managed Mia that Lisa couldn't shake off. As they spoke about Mia's daily care, Lisa broached the subject carefully. Mia has seemed quieter than usual lately. I just want to make sure she's comfortable and not feeling pressured. Caroline's expression turned thoughtful. Children often take time to adjust to new routines, especially those with special needs. Mia may need a firm hand to help her grow. If I notice any concerns, I'll certainly bring them to you. Lisa nodded, though the explanation didn't settle her worry. Thank you, Caroline. Let's just make sure Mia's emotional well-being is a priority. Caroline's expression softened. Of course, Mia is very lucky to have such caring parents. But as Lisa watched Caroline leave the room, a feeling of unease lingered. The next few days brought more signs that something was wrong. Mia seemed even more withdrawn, and Lisa noticed bruises on her daughter's arms and legs. When questioned, Mia hesitated before saying, "Caroline says the exercises are supposed to make me stronger." Lisa's alarm bells rang louder. She decided to leave work early one afternoon without informing anyone, determined to observe without warning. When Lisa entered the house, the silence was eerie. She checked Mia's room, the living room, and the backyard, but found no one. Just as she reached the top of the stairs, faint voices drifted from the basement, a place rarely used and definitely not part of Mia's daily routine. Lisa's heart pounded as she crept down the stairs, her mind racing with questions. As she rounded the corner, she caught sight of Caroline standing over Mia, who was trembling, her hands clenched tightly. Caroline's voice was cold and demanding as she instructed Mia through yet another therapy exercise, her tone void of any compassion or warmth. Lisa gasped, the scene striking her like a physical blow. In that instant, her earlier doubts crystallized into a chilling certainty. Caroline was not the nurturing caregiver she had claimed to be. Holding back tears, Lisa stepped forward, her voice firm. "Caroline, I think we need to talk. Right now." The startled nanny's face froze, then shifted into a polite mask as she straightened. "Of course, Mrs. Jackson." Lisa's heart pounded as she took Mia's hand, leading her away from Caroline, the confrontation brewing in her mind. She knew one thing. The woman standing before her would never again be alone with her daughter. Lisa barely slept that night, her mind racing with questions about what she had witnessed. After settling Mia into bed, she paced the living room, replaying every interaction she had with Caroline, every comment that had made her second-guess herself. Now that the veil had lifted, the oddities and suspicions aligned with a clarity that unnerved her. Mark noticed Lisa's anxiety as he came down the stairs. "You're still up," he said, rubbing his eyes. "Is everything all right?" Lisa looked at him, weighing how to convey what she felt without sounding irrational. "Mark, I don't think Caroline is who she says she is." He frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" "She's been fantastic on paper, and Mia has adjusted well. She's even doing more exercises now." Lisa bit her lip, unsure how to explain the dread that had taken root in her heart. "It's not just about the exercises, Mark. Mia is quieter, and tonight I saw Caroline pushing her through routines that were far too intense. She was being harsh." Mark crossed his arms, a skeptical look flashing across his face. "Harsh? You know Caroline has dealt with children like Mia for years. Maybe you're just worried about Mia struggling to adjust." Lisa felt her patience thinning, but decided to keep her tone measured. "She's our daughter, Mark, and something about Caroline isn't right. I want to trust my instincts on this." Mark sighed, leaning against the doorway. "Okay, let's talk to Caroline tomorrow morning. We'll set some boundaries. Ensure she knows we're serious about Mia's emotional well-being too. Sound fair? Lisa nodded, though part of her felt a conversation wouldn't be enough to address what she'd seen. I want us to consider ending her trial period early if things don't improve, she added, her voice firm. The next morning, Caroline arrived at her usual time, her smile as composed and unassuming as always. She greeted Mia with her usual, "Good morning, Mia," ready for a strong start to the day. But Lisa's unease only grew as she watched Caroline's careful, overly controlled mannerisms. After breakfast, Lisa gestured for Caroline to follow her to the study. Mark stood beside her, his expression unreadable. "Caroline," Lisa began, choosing her words carefully. "Mark and I wanted to talk to you about Mia's care. We're concerned that the intensity of her exercises might be a bit too much. She's seemed a bit withdrawn lately, and as her parents, we want to make sure her emotional needs are being met alongside her physical therapy." Caroline listened, nodding with a professional air, but her eyes held a flicker of something dark. "I understand your concerns, Mrs. Jackson. I believe in a disciplined approach because children like Mia often need structure. Sometimes, parents can be too close to see the benefits of a firmer hand." Lisa felt a pang of anger but kept her tone even. "We're open to new approaches, but not at the cost of Mia's comfort or happiness." Caroline's smile returned, but it was cold and calculated. "I'll adjust my methods, of course," she said, her voice a touch too smooth. "But please remember, Mrs. Jackson, I am the professional here." The words stung, and Lisa felt Mark's hand rest reassuringly on her shoulder. They both exchanged a wary glance, agreeing that they would monitor Caroline's actions more closely in the days to come. However, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that she hadn't gotten through to Caroline. That afternoon, she took matters into her own hands, deciding to review the nanny's background. She combed through Caroline's resume, checking credentials and previous employers. Everything seemed to line up, except for one reference from a prominent family that hadn't responded to her initial inquiry. Lisa called the agency, requesting another reference check. After a moment of hesitation, the coordinator agreed to look into it, promising a response within 48 hours. It was the only peace of mind she could cling to as she kept a vigilant eye on Caroline. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Lisa decided to check the home security footage from the previous days. She skipped through the clips, watching Caroline and Mia move through their routines. Initially, there was nothing suspicious. Caroline's manner was professional, and Mia seemed comfortable. But as she fast-forwarded to the basement footage from that afternoon, Lisa felt her stomach twist. The footage showed Caroline leading Mia down the stairs, her grip tight on the child's arm. Mia appeared nervous, glancing back toward the door as if hoping to escape. Once they reached the bottom, Caroline sat Mia down, speaking to her in a tone that the camera didn't capture. Lisa watched, her heart pounding, as Caroline's expression shifted from gentle to intimidating in a way she hadn't seen before. The next morning, Lisa didn't wait to confront Caroline. Instead, she informed Mark that she had decided to stay home for the day. "I'll be observing Caroline directly," she said, leaving no room for argument. Caroline arrived, her demeanor professional as always, unaware that Lisa would be home. She went through her usual routine with Mia, yet Lisa noticed that her interactions seemed restrained, as though she sensed she was being watched. As the day progressed, Caroline led Mia outside for a series of physical exercises. Lisa watched from the kitchen window, noting how Caroline's tone shifted when she thought they were out of earshot. Her words were clipped, her instructions cold and detached. Lisa knew she couldn't tolerate this any longer. She had to ensure Mia's safety and well-being before something irreversible happened. Quietly, she instructed Carlos to keep an eye on Caroline and Mia while she made a phone call to the agency. The agency's coordinator listened as Lisa expressed her growing concerns. "We take these matters seriously, Mrs. Jackson. We'll escalate this immediately and get back to you." Feeling slightly reassured, Lisa returned to observe Caroline and Mia. She found them in the kitchen, where Caroline was preparing a snack for Mia. Her movements were precise, almost mechanical. Lisa could see the tight grip she kept on Mia's shoulder, the way her fingers dug slightly into her daughter's skin. As the agency's coordinator called back within the hour, Lisa picked up the phone in the other room. The coordinator's voice was tense. "Mrs. Jackson, we received an alarming response from one of Caroline's past employers. It seems she was let go due to unconventional disciplinary practices. They found her methods too aggressive, even frightening, for children under her care." Lisa's heart raced. "Thank you for letting me know," she whispered, her voice barely steady. After hanging up, Lisa took a deep breath, summoning her courage as she returned to the kitchen. She approached Caroline with a firm, unyielding expression. "Caroline, I'd like you to gather your things. Your services will no longer be required." Caroline's face remained expressionless, but her eyes darkened, and a faint smirk appeared at the edge of her lips. "As you wish, Mrs. Jackson," she said coolly, setting down the snack she had been preparing for Mia. As Caroline collected her belongings and prepared to leave, Lisa stayed close to Mia, comforting her with a steady hand on her shoulder. Mia clung to her mother, her expression one of relief and exhaustion. Once Caroline had finally exited, Lisa locked the door behind her, her heart still pounding with a mixture of anger and relief. But as she turned back to Mia, Lisa noticed faint red marks on her daughter's wrist. She gently touched the bruised area, her heart aching. "Mia, did Caroline do this to you?" Mia's lip quivered as she nodded, fresh tears welling up in her eyes. "She told me it was part of getting stronger," Mia whispered, barely able to look up. Lisa pulled her daughter into a gentle embrace, tears of her own threatening to spill over. She knew, without a doubt, that she had made the right choice, but the thought of what could have happened if she hadn't intervened weighed heavily on her. That evening, as she shared the events with Mark, he looked horrified. "Lisa, I should have trusted you. I didn't see it until now." Lisa placed her hand over his. "It's over now. We're lucky it didn't go any further." But as the night wore on, a lingering feeling of dread remained. Lisa decided that from now on, she would trust her instincts completely, no matter what. As she held Mia close, she promised herself that nothing and no one would ever again make her doubt her role as her daughter's protector. The next morning, Lisa's sense of unease lingered, although she knew Caroline was gone. As she prepared breakfast, Mia sat quietly at the table, picking at her food. The usual spark in her eyes seemed dim, and every so often, Lisa would notice her daughter wincing as she moved. "Mia, sweetheart," Lisa said gently, sitting down beside her. "If anything else happened with Caroline, I want you to tell me, okay? You're safe now." Mia looked down, silent for a long moment. Then, in a soft voice, she finally spoke. "Mommy," she said, "I was weak, that I was supposed to get stronger, but I just kept feeling worse. She got mad when I couldn't keep up." Lisa's heart tightened as she listened, fury bubbling within her. Caroline's words had left a deep impact on Mia's fragile self-esteem, and the bruises were a painful reminder of the physical toll as well. "That's not true, Mia," Lisa said firmly, brushing a hand over her daughter's curls. "You're perfect just the way you are. You're strong in so many ways Caroline could never understand." She reached for Mia's hand, squeezing it gently. "You never have to worry about her again." Determined to put her daughter's well-being first, Lisa decided to focus on rebuilding Maya's confidence. She arranged for a session with a physical therapist who specialized in gentle, empowering exercises for children with disabilities. Lisa felt it was crucial to surround Mia with positive, compassionate influences to heal from the emotional scars Caroline had left. Later that morning, Lisa received a call from the agency, offering profuse apologies. The coordinator explained that Caroline's file had included excellent references from some families, but her last employer's negative feedback had been misfiled, preventing it from reaching the agency's review team. They offered a partial refund and pledged to be more thorough in their vetting process. Lisa appreciated the gesture, but knew it was a lesson learned. She couldn't shake the feeling that it was her responsibility, above all else, to protect her family. With that resolve, she decided it was time to take matters into her own hands. She spent the next week creating a comfortable, uplifting environment for Mia, focusing on family activities and making sure Mia felt supported. They baked together, read books about strong, resilient characters, and took short walks in the garden, where Lisa encouraged Mia to engage with the world around her. Then, one afternoon, Lisa's phone buzzed with an incoming call. She recognized the number immediately. It was from one of Caroline's past employers, someone Lisa had reached out to for more information after hearing about the agency's error. "Mrs. Jackson, I wanted to speak with you personally," said the voice on the other end, a woman named Teresa who had employed Caroline several years back. Her tone was serious, almost weary. "I've been waiting for someone to look into Caroline's history. I wish I could say your experience was an isolated one." Lisa felt a chill as she clutched her phone tightly. "I suspected something wasn't right, but I had no idea it went beyond us." Teresa's voice held a note of regret. "Caroline worked for us for a little over a year. At first, she seemed perfect, professional, knowledgeable, the whole package. But then, things started to feel off. My son, who has sensory issues, began acting differently. He was quieter, withdrawn, and I could see he was losing confidence. When I asked him about it, he just said Caroline made him feel small." Lisa's mind raced as she listened, each word confirming her worst fears. "Did she harm him physically?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "No, nothing physical that I could prove, but the emotional impact was undeniable. She was manipulative, constantly belittling him in ways that were hard to catch at first. By the time we realized what was happening, she had left to take another position. She seems to know how to stay just long enough without raising alarms." Lisa felt a sickening realization as Teresa continued to share her story, feeling as if a dark cloud had settled over her. She wondered how many families had unknowingly placed their trust in Caroline, only to be left with lingering scars. Thanking Teresa, Lisa ended the call with a renewed determination to ensure no other child would suffer in Caroline's care. The following day, Lisa went to the local police station, gathering every detail she had about Caroline's conduct. She provided a statement about the emotional abuse Mia had endured, including the bruises she had witnessed. While there, she learned that emotional abuse in caregiving situations was difficult to prosecute without concrete evidence, but Lisa didn't back down. The officer she spoke with, a sympathetic woman named Detective Ramirez, listened intently. "You're right to be concerned, Mrs. Jackson. We'll keep a file on her. But cases like these can be challenging to pursue." Lisa's jaw tightened as she nodded. "I understand. But I'll do whatever I can to protect other families from going through what we have." As she left the station, she felt a small measure of relief, knowing she had done her part to hold Caroline accountable. Yet, she knew the journey of healing for Mia, and for herself, was far from over. Back at home, Lisa felt a new resolve to empower Mia with independence. She introduced her to a new physical therapist, a warm and enthusiastic woman named Dr. Claire Reynolds. Dr. Reynolds was everything Caroline wasn't: gentle, encouraging, and attuned to Mia's needs. With each session, Lisa could see a transformation in Mia's spirit. She laughed more, engaged with the exercises, and even started to set small goals for herself. "Mommy, I want to walk all the way to the garden without holding on," Mia announced one day, her eyes sparkling with determination. Lisa's heart swelled with pride. "You can do it, Mia, and I'll be right here with you." Over the next few weeks, Mia flourished under Dr. Reynolds' care. Her confidence grew as she celebrated small victories, each step a testament to her resilience. Yet, despite the positive changes, Lisa knew they were still working through the effects of Caroline's brief presence in their lives. Mia was more hesitant to trust, often clinging to Lisa's side in public or becoming quiet around strangers. Lisa also felt the residual weight of guilt and responsibility. She had placed her trust in someone she thought was a qualified professional, only to find that trust shattered. She constantly reminded herself that she'd done everything possible, yet the what-ifs gnawed at her. One evening, as they sat on the couch, Mia turned to her mother, her face earnest. "Mommy, will I ever have another nanny?" Lisa considered her words carefully, not wanting to close off the idea of new experiences. "Maybe one day, sweetheart. But only if it feels right, and only if you feel safe. Until then, I'll be here for you, every step of the way." Mia's face lit up with a shy smile, the kind that warmed Lisa's heart and reassured her that they were on the right path. With each day that passed, Maya seemed to regain her sense of joy, and Lisa knew that their bond had only grown stronger in the wake of the experience. In a moment of quiet reflection, Lisa sat down to write a letter, one she never intended to send but needed to write for her own closure. She poured out her thoughts to Caroline, describing the pain, the betrayal, and the damage caused. She ended the letter with a vow to protect Mia fiercely and to ensure that every choice she made in the future would be guided by her love and instinct as a mother. She sealed the letter and tucked it away in a drawer, feeling a sense of peace settle over her. Caroline might have left scars, but Lisa had emerged stronger, more attuned to her daughter's needs and to her own intuition. As she tucked Mia in that night, she felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the quiet, precious moments they shared, free from fear and mistrust. And as Mia drifted off to sleep, Lisa whispered, "You're safe now, Mia. You're safe, and I'll always protect you." The darkness of Caroline's presence had finally lifted, replaced by a light that Lisa knew would carry them forward. And in that light, she saw Mia's future, a future filled with hope, courage, and the unwavering strength of a mother's love. The weeks passed, and Mia's progress became undeniable. Her confidence grew, as did her willingness to try new activities. Dr. Reynolds encouraged her to set small, manageable goals, celebrating each accomplishment with enthusiasm. Lisa's heart swelled with pride every time she saw Mia beam after a successful session, and slowly her own lingering doubts began to fade. One Saturday morning, as Lisa and Mia prepared for their weekly therapy session with Dr. Reynolds, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. Lisa opened the door to find a young woman standing there, dressed in a crisp white shirt and holding a notebook. Her face was both professional and warm, with a kindness in her eyes that put Lisa at ease. "Hello, Mrs. Jackson. My name is Emily Martinez. I'm a social worker with the Child Welfare Department. I was hoping to speak with you regarding an inquiry involving a former employee of yours, Caroline Tuttle." Lisa's pulse quickened. She ushered Emily inside, her mind racing as she wondered what could have brought child welfare to her doorstep. Emily took a seat on the couch, flipping open her notebook. "Mrs. Jackson, I understand that Caroline Tuttle worked for you as a nanny a few months ago. I'm here because we've had some concerning reports about her. You may have been contacted by other families already." Lisa nodded, thinking back to the call from Teresa. "Yes, I did hear from a former employer of Caroline's. My daughter, Mia, was impacted by her time here, but I thought it was just an isolated incident until now." Emily's expression was somber. "Unfortunately, we've received multiple reports of questionable behavior from Caroline, particularly toward children with special needs. Her employment history shows a pattern of brief, intense periods of work where she's left families under similarly distressing circumstances." A chill ran down Lisa's spine. "What exactly have you found?" "I tried filing a complaint with the police, but without concrete evidence, they couldn't do much." Emily nodded sympathetically. "I understand. Caroline's approach is subtle but damaging. She has a way of undermining a child's confidence, pushing them beyond reasonable limits, and using manipulative tactics to keep parents in the dark. In some cases, the children have had emotional breakdowns or worsened conditions as a result. We're investigating her methods thoroughly." Lisa looked over at Mia, who was happily drawing at the kitchen table. She wondered just how much damage Caroline had inflicted, and what could have happened if she hadn't intervened. Is there anything I can do to help with the investigation? Emily offered a grateful smile. Yes, actually. Documenting your experiences and any details about Caroline's behavior would be invaluable. If you have any photos of injuries or unusual behavior, they could also support our case. Lisa nodded, her resolve hardening. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure she doesn't harm another child. Emily took down her contact information, reassured her that she would remain informed as the investigation unfolded, and left, leaving Lisa with a renewed sense of duty. After taking a deep breath, she decided to tell Mark about the visit, realizing it was time they worked together to confront what had happened with Caroline. That evening, once Mia was tucked into bed, Lisa sat down with Mark in the living room. He noticed the serious look in her eyes and set down his book, bracing himself for what she was about to share. I had a visit from Child Welfare today, Lisa began, keeping her voice steady. They're investigating Caroline. She's left a trail of harm with other families, especially children like Mia. Mark's eyes widened, his expression shifting from shock to anger. Are you telling me she's been doing this to other families? Why wasn't this caught sooner? They're trying to gather evidence, but she's managed to hide her behavior. It's subtle, emotional manipulation that's hard to prove. Lisa's voice grew thick with frustration. But I'll be damned if I let her continue hurting children. Mark took her hand, his grip firm. We'll do everything we can to support the investigation. Mia's healing, but if we can prevent this from happening to other kids, we owe it to them. The next day, Lisa began compiling a comprehensive report. She documented everything she could remember. Each instance of Caroline's cold remarks, her unsettling gaze, the bruises on Mia's arms and legs. She included a series of photos she had taken of Mia's bruises shortly after Caroline's departure, photos she had saved in case they were needed. As Lisa worked, Mia occasionally looked over her shoulder, curious but not understanding the full gravity of what her mother was doing. Lisa explained it in simple terms, saying, I'm writing about what happened with Caroline, sweetheart. I want to help other kids be safe. Mia nodded, a look of concentration on her face. Will other kids have a better nanny? Lisa smiled gently, brushing a stray curl from Mia's forehead. Yes, Mia. We're going to make sure of it. As the report neared completion, Lisa found herself returning to a particular incident she had initially brushed off. One evening, Caroline had insisted on putting Mia to bed herself, something Lisa had reluctantly agreed to. She had thought Caroline's intention was to bond with Mia, but as she reviewed the details, she remembered how Mia had seemed unusually nervous, clutching her stuffed bear tightly. When Lisa had checked on her later, she found Mia awake, her eyes wide, and her body tense. Now, with hindsight, she wondered just what kind of influence Caroline had wielded in those private moments. The questions gnawed at her, and Lisa found herself grateful for the social worker's intervention, which gave her a new avenue for holding Caroline accountable. As Lisa submitted the report, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders, knowing she had taken a meaningful step. But she also realized that healing required more than accountability. It required support, resilience, and positive reinforcement for Mia. That evening, Lisa decided to introduce something new to their bedtime routine. She brought a set of affirmation cards she had created, each one with a simple, encouraging message. She sat beside Mia on her bed, holding up the first card, which read, I am strong and brave. Mia, Lisa said, smiling warmly, I want you to read this with me. Every night, we're going to say some of these words together, so you know how amazing you are. Mia's eyes sparkled with interest as she looked at the card. I am strong and brave, she repeated, her voice soft but full of promise. They went through each card, with Mia repeating phrases like I am loved and I am capable. By the time they finished, Mia had drifted off to sleep with a small smile, her body relaxed and at peace. Lisa left Mia's room, her heart full of gratitude. The affirmations became their nightly ritual, a constant reminder of Mia's resilience and her own dedication to her daughter's well-being. With each repetition, Lisa could see Maya's confidence slowly returning, and she knew they were on a journey to rebuild what had been lost. A few weeks later, Lisa received a call from Emily. "Mrs. Jackson, I wanted to let you know that Caroline has been officially barred from working with children. Your report and others like it gave us the evidence we needed to take action." Lisa's eyes filled with tears of relief. "Thank you, Emily. I just want to make sure no other child goes through what Mia did." Emily's tone softened. "Thanks to you, many families will be spared. And if there's anything more we can do to support you and Mia, please don't hesitate to reach out." As Lisa hung up, she felt a profound sense of closure. Caroline's influence was finally behind them, and Lisa could focus fully on Mia's journey forward, free from the shadows of the past. That evening, as Lisa and Mia went through their affirmation cards, Maya looked up at her mother, her eyes bright and full of trust. "Mommy," she said, holding Lisa's hand, "I am strong and brave, just like you." Lisa's heart swelled with pride, and she pulled Mia into a gentle embrace. "Yes, Mia, you're the bravest girl I know." In that moment, Lisa realized that their ordeal, painful as it had been, had strengthened their bond in ways she hadn't anticipated. She promised herself she would cherish these small, powerful moments, knowing they were the real triumphs in their journey toward healing. In the months that followed, the Jacksons' lives slowly returned to a new normal. Maya thrived under Dr. Reynolds' guidance, and her physical and emotional progress blossomed in ways Lisa hadn't thought possible. Yet there remained an undertone of caution in Mia's interactions. She hesitated more around new people, her confidence delicate in the presence of anyone unfamiliar. Lisa knew that Mia's journey wasn't just about physical therapy, but about rebuilding trust. One afternoon, as they were walking in the garden, Mia paused by the small stone bench near the rose bushes. "Mommy, will I ever have a friend who's like me?" she asked, glancing down shyly. The question caught Lisa off guard. It was true that, because of Mia's unique needs, she hadn't had as many opportunities to meet other children. Lisa felt a pang of guilt, realizing that Mia had been isolated more than she had intended. Her daughter, despite her shyness, was seeking companionship, someone who could understand her experiences in a way that Lisa, as much as she tried, could never fully do. Lisa knelt beside Mia, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Yes, sweetheart. I think it's time we found you some new friends. There are so many amazing kids out there, just like you, and I know they'd love to meet you." The very next day, Lisa began researching local support groups and programs for children with disabilities. She discovered a community center just a few miles away that hosted bi-weekly social events specifically designed for children with special needs and their families. The program coordinator, an enthusiastic young woman named Rachel, assured Lisa that the environment was supportive, inclusive, and filled with activities that would help Maya feel comfortable. That Saturday, Lisa and Mia attended their first event. The center was bustling with activity as families filled the main hall, and Lisa felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as they entered. Mia gripped her hand tightly, her eyes wide as she took in the sight of other children who, like her, moved with wheelchairs, used walkers, or were assisted by caring adults. A cheerful volunteer led them to a cozy corner where a group of kids were painting. "Hi there. Mia, right?" asked the volunteer, smiling warmly. "I'm Amy. Why don't you join us? We're painting our favorite animals today." Mia looked up at Lisa, uncertainty flickering across her face. Lisa gave her an encouraging nod, whispering, "You're safe here, sweetie. I'll be right over there if you need me." With a deep breath, Mia wheeled herself closer to the table, her hands trembling slightly. Amy handed her a paintbrush and a canvas, giving her a gentle smile. "We're so happy you're here, Mia. What's your favorite animal?" Mia hesitated, glancing at the other children, who were busy creating colorful splashes on their canvases. I like dolphins," she murmured, her voice soft but clear. Amy's face lit up. "Dolphins are amazing. They're super smart and friendly. I think you'll paint a beautiful one." As Mia began painting, her concentration took over, and she seemed to relax, losing herself in the colors and strokes. Lisa watched from a distance, feeling the surge of pride. This was the first time in months she had seen Mia open up to strangers, even in such a small way. The day continued with various activities: sensory play, group games, and storytelling sessions. Mia joined in cautiously, but each time she looked back to see Lisa's reassuring smile, her confidence grew. By the end of the day, Mia had painted a bright, joyful dolphin leaping over waves, a stark contrast to the tentative, shy child she had been just a few hours before. As they left, Lisa knelt to Mia's level, looking her in the eyes. "I'm so proud of you today. You made a big step." Mia smiled shyly, clutching her dolphin painting. "I liked it, Mommy. Can we come back next time?" Lisa's heart soared. "Absolutely, Mia. We'll make it a regular adventure." True to her word, Lisa took Mia to every event, where she gradually made friends and blossomed in a way Lisa hadn't imagined. As Mia's world expanded, so did her sense of independence and self-worth. She began to speak about her own goals, even requesting a few adaptive classes in dance and art. One evening, as Mia was coloring in her room, Lisa noticed that she was adding small hearts and stars around her dolphin painting from the first day at the center. She watched her daughter quietly, her heart swelling with gratitude for the changes she'd seen. But beneath the joy, a lingering question tugged at her. How much had Caroline's influence impacted Mia's ability to trust? Determined to give her daughter closure, Lisa planned a special trip for just the two of them. She'd heard about a children's nature reserve that offered educational tours for families with special needs. With Mia's love for animals, Lisa hoped this experience would help her find joy in connecting with others while feeling safe and supported. On the day of their outing, Mia's excitement was contagious. As they arrived at the reserve, she was wide-eyed, taking in the lush greenery and the sounds of chirping birds. They joined a small group of families, all of whom had children with unique needs, and were guided by a ranger named Mr. Paul, a gentle, grandfatherly figure who immediately put Mia at ease. Their first stop was the Butterfly Garden, a large greenhouse filled with colorful flowers and vibrant butterflies that flitted from petal to petal. Mr. Paul handed each child a small flower with nectar, instructing them to hold it out for the butterflies. Mia extended her hand, watching in awe as a tiny blue butterfly landed on her flower, delicately sipping the nectar. She gasped, her eyes wide with wonder, and looked back at Lisa, who was beaming with pride. "It's so pretty, Mommy," Mia whispered, her voice full of awe. "I didn't know they could be so gentle." Lisa knelt beside her, whispering, "See, Mia, sometimes beautiful things come quietly, with patience, just like you." The day continued with encounters with rescued animals, each one with a story of resilience and survival. Mia listened intently as Mr. Paul told them about a young fox that had been found injured but had made a full recovery. She watched as the fox, playful and unafraid, darted through the enclosure with a sense of freedom that resonated deeply within her. As they neared the end of the tour, Mia turned to her mother, her eyes bright. "Mommy, I want to be like the fox. I want to be brave, even when things are hard." Lisa felt tears prick at her eyes, overcome with love and admiration for her daughter's strength. "You already are, Mia. You're the bravest person I know." That evening, after they returned home, Lisa found herself reflecting on all they had endured. Despite the pain Caroline had inflicted, Mia had emerged resilient, her spirit unbroken. The support of their community, Dr. Reynolds, and the new friends at the center had helped Mia not just to heal but to grow in ways Lisa had never anticipated. The bedtime routine that night felt even more special. As they went through their affirmation cards, Mia looked up at her mother, her face glowing with newfound strength. "Mommy," she said, holding her mother's gaze, "I think I know what I want to be when I grow up." Lisa smiled, brushing a stray curl from Mia's forehead. "Oh, what's that, sweetheart?" "I want to help kids who are like me, I want them to know they're strong and brave too." Lisa's heart swelled with pride, and she hugged her daughter tightly. "That's a wonderful dream, Mia. And I know you'll do it, because you have so much love to give." In that moment, Lisa felt an overwhelming sense of peace. She had fought for her daughter's safety, healing, and happiness, and in doing so, she had witnessed the resilience and courage that Mia had embraced in herself. As she tucked Mia in, she whispered, "You're a light in this world, Mia, and you're going to make a difference, one heart at a time." Mia smiled, her eyes fluttering shut as she drifted into a peaceful sleep, her heart full of hope, her spirit unbreakable. And for Lisa, that was all she had ever hoped for. Months had passed since the day Lisa and Mia had finally said goodbye to the shadows Caroline left behind. Maya's world had grown in the most beautiful ways, filled with friends, new skills, and a resilience that only life's challenges could build. Lisa felt a deep sense of accomplishment watching her daughter blossom. But there was one final step to take in their journey, a loose end that Lisa had been hesitant to confront. One afternoon, as they sat together in the living room, Maya looked up from her coloring book, her expression pensive. "Mommy," she began slowly, "I know we don't talk about her, but I sometimes think about Miss Caroline. I feel sad when I think about her." Lisa felt a lump in her throat, understanding how complex Mia's feelings might be. "That's okay, sweetheart," she replied gently. "We can talk about her if you want. You can ask me anything." Mia nodded, her eyes searching for the right words. "I just wonder, did I do something wrong? Was I not good enough?" Her voice was soft, tentative, and Lisa's heart ached at the vulnerability behind the question. "No, Mia," Lisa said, her voice filled with conviction. She placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder, looking her directly in the eyes. "None of it was your fault. Caroline was the one who made mistakes, and you were very brave for going through it. You're more than enough just as you are." Mia nodded, seeming reassured. But Lisa knew her daughter needed more than comforting words. She decided it was time for Mia to see firsthand just how much she had grown and how far she had come since that dark period in their lives. With this in mind, Lisa made a call to Dr. Reynolds, who had been a pillar of support for Mia, and together they planned an idea that would give Mia the closure she needed. The following week, Lisa took Mia back to the community center for a special event. The center was hosting a showcase day, where children with special needs could demonstrate their skills and share their stories. The idea was for the children to celebrate their achievements, and Dr. Reynolds thought it would be the perfect opportunity for Mia to present her journey in her own way. As they arrived at the event, Lisa watched Mia's eyes light up with excitement as she saw familiar faces and recognized some of her new friends. A small stage was set up at the front of the hall, decorated with colorful banners and balloons, and families sat in rows of chairs, clapping and cheering as each child shared their unique stories of growth. "Mia," Lisa said, kneeling down beside her, "you don't have to go up there if you don't want to. But if you do, just know that you have every right to be proud of yourself. You've come so far." Mia looked at her mother, her face a mix of nervousness and excitement. After a pause, she nodded. "I want to, Mommy. I want to tell people that they can be brave too." Lisa's heart swelled with pride. They took their seats, and Mia waited patiently as the children before her took turns on stage. One child demonstrated his artwork, another shared her favorite storybook, and another played a simple but beautiful tune on the piano. The audience was moved by each child's resilience, clapping and cheering in support. Finally, it was Mia's turn. Dr. Reynolds took her hand and led her gently onto the stage. Lisa watched, holding her breath, as her daughter stood under the spotlight, clutching the microphone with both hands. Mia glanced at the audience, her gaze finding her mother in the crowd, and Lisa gave her an encouraging smile. "Hi, my name is Mia," she began, her voice soft but steady. "I had a hard time with some things last year. I thought maybe I wasn't strong, or that something was wrong with me. But I learned that I can do things, even if it's hard. Mia paused, her eyes scanning the audience, which had fallen silent, captivated by her story. I want other kids to know that they're special, and that they're strong too. And that sometimes, even when someone hurts you or makes you feel small, you can still be brave. Her voice grew stronger, filled with a newfound confidence that made Lisa's heart swell. The room burst into applause, and Lisa felt tears prick at her eyes. Mia beamed, her face alight with pride and joy, basking in the supportive energy surrounding her. She waved at the audience and then spotted her friends in the front row, who cheered and clapped even louder. After the applause settled, Mia climbed down from the stage, and Lisa wrapped her in a tight hug. I am so proud of you, Mia. You were incredible. Mia smiled up at her mother, her eyes shining. I feel good, Mommy. I feel like I can do anything. Over the next few days, Mia's confidence only grew. She took on new challenges with eagerness, from trying new adaptive sports to signing up for an art class at the community center. The showcase had given her a sense of belonging and strength she hadn't known before, and Lisa could see the positive transformation unfolding in every aspect of her life. But one day they received an unexpected call from Detective Ramirez, who had handled their case with Caroline months before. Mrs. Jackson, I just wanted to let you know that Caroline Tuttle was recently implicated in another case involving emotional and physical abuse. We'll be moving forward with charges this time, thanks to testimonies from several families, including yours. I thought you'd want to know. Lisa took a deep breath, her hands gripping the phone tightly. Thank you, Detective. It means a lot to us to know that justice is being served. After the call, she sat with Mia, explaining in simple terms that Caroline was now being held accountable for her actions. Maya listened thoughtfully, a serious expression on her face. Will she go to jail? She asked, her tone curious yet cautious. She might, Lisa replied. But the important thing is that she won't be able to hurt anyone else. Mia nodded slowly, absorbing the information. I think that's good, she said, her voice soft but certain. With that final piece of closure, Lisa felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She knew they had finally put the past behind them, and that Mia had not only survived, but had emerged stronger, wiser, and more compassionate than ever. That night, as they sat together for their bedtime affirmations, Maya took the cards from her mother's hands. Flipping through them herself, she stopped on one card and held it up with a proud smile. It read, I am brave and powerful. Lisa smiled, her heart full. Yes, you are, Mia. More than you'll ever know. Mia hugged her mother tightly, a feeling of peace and warmth settling between them. Lisa knew that, despite the trials they had faced, Mia's future was bright and boundless, and that their bond had been forged even stronger through the fire of adversity. As Mia drifted off to sleep, Lisa sat beside her, reflecting on the journey they had endured. She knew there would be more challenges ahead, as life always held its share of obstacles. But she also knew, with unshakable certainty, that Mia had the strength to overcome them. And in that quiet, peaceful moment, Lisa made a promise to herself, to always listen to her instincts, to protect her daughter with all she had, and to nurture the fierce, brave spirit that Mia had shown the world. As she kissed Mia's forehead, Lisa whispered, You're safe, my love, and you'll always have me by your side. With the promise of a new day and a life filled with hope, Lisa left Mia's room, feeling a profound gratitude for the love and resilience that had carried them both through the darkest of times.